A lot was made on the broadcast by Chris Collinsworth about how the Chiefs were really taking Malik Nabers out of the game. And that, really was seen in the stat line. Malik Nabers didn't have a catch until the game was essentially out of hand. He had one catch for 4 yards that came on their really kind of one of the last gasp drives. They weren't able to get him the ball a couple times. They did throw deep to him that were either incomplete or one was intercepted. So I thought we'd look into some of the coverages that the Chiefs were playing against Nabers. What was going on that was leading to this low stat line? Were the Chiefs doing anything exotic or anything special to try to take him away? And the first play that we're going to look at is going to come from the first drive that the Giants had. This was with 10:25 to go in the first quarter, 0-0 game. It's the first drive of the game. And the Giants have a 3rd and 11 at the Chiefs' 35 or 36-yard line or so. We've got Malik Nabers lined up right here. So let's take a look at what happens on this play, and then we'll break it down. So Wilson's in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, and then the tight end moves over to make it a 2-by-2 formation, one running back with him in the backfield. He drops back to throw, looks to his right, and ends up dumping it off over the middle to Cam Scatterbo for about a 4-yard gain. So we're really going to focus here on this review on what the Chiefs were doing with Nabers. So just to get an idea of where we are personnel-wise, the Chiefs are in their nickel. Means they've got 2 linebackers on the field. There's Drew Tranquill and there's Nick Bolton. They've got 6 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's number 6? They've got 5 defensive backs. That's a nickel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We pointed at 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the 2 linebackers. The guy that they have lined up against Malik Nabers here is Trent McDuffie, who is by far the Chiefs' best cover defensive back. They also have mugged up the A-gaps here, so it looks like they're potentially showing blitz, though they have 2 high safeties. One thing that we'll be talking about a lot is the 2 high safeties. I saw that the Chiefs ran with 2 high safeties more than anybody has at all in any game so far this year. It was somewhere around 76% of their snaps had 2 high safeties, I believe. So they're clearly trying to take away the deep passing game. But let's see what they did with Nabers. They've got McDuffie over the top of him. And then at the snap, Nabers is running a slant here. So they've got a slant-flat combination. Nabers coming in the slant, the tight end running the flat. And really, this is not any kind of special coverage here. This looks like a pretty standard kind of cover 2 variation here, where you've got the 2 deep safeties, and really you just kind of have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 underneath defenders. Everybody's kind of split evenly. It's maybe not quite what you'd call a country cover 2, as Cody Alexander would say, as there is some route mirroring on this side. Maybe they're playing more like cover 2 to the left and more of a pattern match to the right. But in any case, this is a pretty standard coverage here, nothing too special. The thing that is a little surprising, if you notice, Wilson is reading the right side of the field, so he's not even looking to Nabers. And this is not like a deep pass pattern. This is kind of more of a quick pattern. So essentially, with the choice not to read the slant flat, probably by whatever pre-snap keys he had, he's really looking at the left side where he's got the double slants. The part that I don't really understand is that as he looks over here, I'm guessing he's looking at this one. Well, this comes open. I don't know why he didn't go 1 to 2 here. It looks like he looked for this one. And if you watch his head here, he comes right to his check down as the next thing. He went here, covered, here, throw. Well, if he had gone 1 to 2 for that second slant over the top, that one popped open. He could have thrown this and completed it. Instead, he came down to the check down. But as far as the point of what we were looking at, nothing too exotic on Nabers. It's just that Russell Wilson, from whatever indications he had pre-snap, decided to read the right side of the field instead of the left first. But in any case, Nabers running a slant into an underneath zone isn't that great of a route combination, but it's not like the Chiefs were doing anything that special or exotic here. So let's move ahead to an early key play in the game. We've got 9:10 to go in the first quarter, the end of the Giants' first drive of the game, 0-0, and we've got a 4th and 3 at the Chiefs' 28-yard line. The Giants essentially need the 25 to get a first down, and let's see what the Chiefs do to try to take away Malik Nabers in this situation. Wilson's got 2 receivers to his right, 2 tight ends to his left. He motions Nabers out to the outside. He throws to his right, and it's knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Nick Bolton for an incomplete pass. So what are the Chiefs doing in coverage here? Well, this is a Spags blitz. He ends up sending both Bolton and Tranquil, so he ends up having 6 people rush, leaving him with only 5 to defend, and he essentially is playing man coverage on the back end. So if you see here, you've got manned up here. Cook ends up coming down to the running back, and then Watson and Hicks are manned up on the tight ends. So this is just simple man coverage coming behind a blitz. McDuffie is just manned up against Malik Nabers. Initially, the way they had set it up with Nabers in the slot, he was going to be manned up against Shamari Connor, who is a much weaker man defender. But the way that they motioned it to get Nabers to the outside to run his out route, they just had McDuffie in man coverage against him. So again, a big crucial play of the game, nothing special going on here. Like, this was just man-to-man coverage, tight coverage. The reason, not that Nabers was open on this out, but Wilson had to go hot here because of the blitz. He liked the chances hitting his check down with the safety being the one responsible for him. Remember, he has to get here to the 25-yard line. But the blitzing Bolton ended up getting his hands up and knocking this down. But again, key play of the game, a 4th down. The Chiefs aren't doing anything special against Malik Nabers. They've just got him here on man coverage. He, like I said, is against their best corner, but that's because of the switch that the Giants made, motioning him out. They were willing to put him in man coverage against Shamari Connor on this play. So, again, big key play, still nothing too crazy as far as the way that the Chiefs are covering Nabers. Jump ahead again, this time to 1:17 to go in the first quarter. Chose this play, kind of another critical play. It's a 3rd down. The Giants have a 3rd and about 5 at the Chiefs' 46-ish yard line, trying to keep a drive line down 3-0. We've got Malik Nabers is here lined up in the slot. So we've Russell Wilson has 2 to his left, 2 to his right. They motion Malik Nabers out wide. He takes a snap and throws a screen left to Cam Scatterbo, who gets nailed for a loss of a yard. Again, what are the Chiefs doing to Nabers here? The Chiefs are in their nickel again. There are 5 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they seem to be lined up again in man coverage. So if you look, it looks like the Chiefs are just playing cover 1 man here. Nothing too exotic. Bolton appears responsible for the running back. Tranquil. Well, really, it may be Tranquil who's responsible for the running back, and Bolton is just the robber underneath. Then you've got Hicks and McDuffie manned up over here. Watson, is that Connor over there manned up. Again, the Giants motion Nabers so that the outside corner would take him, but obviously the Giants are just, this is a screen pass for them. Then there's no chance of throwing this to Nabers, but again, on a big 3rd down, the Chiefs are just manned up with Malik Nabers. This time it's Jalen Watson, but they would have been just as happy with Shamari Connor in the slot. So, again, nothing special in this coverage here. The Chiefs are just running man-to-man with Nabers. This case, it's not a big deal at all because it ultimately is a screen pass, so they're not looking for it. But Another key down, nothing special that the Chiefs seem to be doing to take Malik Nabers out of this game. We jump ahead now to the second quarter, 9:43 to go in the quarter. The Giants are down 6-0, and they've got a 1st and 10 at their own 26-yard line. Russell Wilson has 2 tight ends to his left, 2 receivers to his right. He's in the pistol with Cam Scadaboo behind him. They motion Nabers out wide again, and Wilson tries to throw deep, but his arm is hit by Jalen Watson as he throws it forward. So it's an incomplete pass. So looking at what the Chiefs are doing here, essentially they're going to rush 4, and they're going to blitz Jalen Watson off the corner. They're going to keep their 2-high structure and essentially run like they've got McDuffie is manned up on Nabers. They've clearly got some like pattern match concept here on the right because McDuffie's matched to Nabers. Tranquil is here looking for the flat, and then Shamari Connor is sitting up over the top of the number 2 wide receiver. So this looks like a kind of man match in the quarters family here. Bolton, as he IDs after the fake run, he comes up. He just goes back to try to look for any crossers or anything toward the middle of the field. And then you've got Tranquil, and there's this Hicks over here looking underneath in case anybody leaks to the flat. So this looks like a kind of modified quarters being run behind a blitz. And again, so essentially Nabers just is on one-on-one coverage with McDuffie. Once Connor realizes he's got Roland Wallace's help here for the post, he's able to kind of middle this and help out once he realizes his throw is coming Nabers' way. But really, like, Connor from the start here looks to be the one who's responsible for the vertical of 2. So it's really only just McDuffie up over the top on Nabers. And again, that matchup is partially because of the way that the Giants are choosing to shift here. They're starting Nabers in the slot where he would again be capped by Shamari Connor, and Trent McDuffie would be responsible for 1 really unless he goes underneath. But the Giants are motioning out where they're getting McDuffie over Nabers, but again, this is just one-on-one coverage. Who knows, maybe they would have been able to complete this pass. Wilson at this point was willing to go to Nabers, but the blitz, which is a real unfortunate situation for the Giants because they had 2 tight ends in here to block. They kept them both in kind of a max protect. They only sent 2 receivers out and then had the running back leak out late. So they're really going for a deep concept here, but having 2 tight ends to protect and the tight end doesn't identify Watson's blitz until too late. And so what's the point of keeping guys in to protect when they can't stop essentially giving up as close to a free runner as you can get while having someone trying to block you? He's able to get around, and Watson does a great job getting to Wilson's arm and preventing this from being an accurate throw. So we'll never really know what would have become of it. But again, nothing too exotic with the pressure on Nabers. If we want to check out again, so with the play action, you see the far tight end's eyes are not at all on the potential for Watson to blitz. And he manages to get there and does a good job of just going for the arm. He is worked a little bit around, so he does enough to get around to the arm and cause this pass to flutter harmlessly short and incomplete. So let's jump ahead to 1:11 to go in the first half. It is a 6-6 game at this point, and the Giants are trying to get some points before half to take the lead. We've got Russell Wilson in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his right, 2 to his left. Wan'Dale Robinson motions across the formation to create a 3-by-1. Wilson takes a snap, he drops back and throws deep left to Nabers, but again the ball falls harmlessly incomplete across the middle of the field. this time because of a hit from George Karlaftis. So again, we're looking into what are the Chiefs doing to take away Malik Nabers. Again, you see the split safeties. As we mentioned, the Chiefs did that a lot during this game. They are again in nickel. You've got Tranquil and Bolton. This time Shamari Connor's here in the slot. It's like Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie. And that looks like Cook and Hicks back there. And again, if you look at the Chiefs' coverage, this is a fairly straightforward, essentially looks like a cover 4, right? You can see you've got the 4 deep defenders, each taking a deep deep quarter. And then you've got 3 underneath defenders. This is pretty close to just like a country cover 4. Nothing too exotic about this coverage at all. And Wilson sees it and likes his chances of trying to get Nabers up the numbers to see if he can split these 2 defenders. But again, nothing too special. It would have been interesting to see, again, like one of the previous ones when Watson was blitzing, if Wilson could get this throw off, what could have happened. But this time, George Karlaftis just walks his man right back into Russell Wilson's lap and manages to get his arms on him as he's trying to make this throw, and Wilson cannot get enough on the throw and just falls in the void incomplete. Man, the Giants, they ended up throwing 2 picks in this game, and they had 2 of these throws that just fluttered because of hits, and neither of them came close to being intercepted, which feels unlucky. You know, if even one of those are picked, then you got a 3-pick day. But again, going back to the coverage, I don't see any like specific brackets on Nabers. I don't see any special attention being paid to him. I think the one thing that seems to be consistent as we go through this review, and we'll see if that continues, is that the Chiefs are definitely defending against the deep pass. Which, I mean, we already know that to be true. They played split safeties like 70+% of the time. So they're clearly selling out against deep balls, but I don't know that they're doing anything specific to Nabers. At least we haven't seen anything to this point yet. From the end zone cam, we can just take a quick moment to appreciate Karlaftis' rush here. This is Andrew Thomas is still not 100%, so not able to play the entire game. And once he came out, Karlaftis just went at his replacement, bull rushed him straight back into Wilson's lap, and managed to grab him. But fortunately for the Giants, this ball fell harmlessly to the turf. Now we jump ahead to 56 seconds to go in the first half. Again, this is a 6-6 ball game. The Giants are trying to get some points to take the lead here before half. And they have a 2nd and 7 at about the Chiefs' 23-yard line. Russell Wilson is in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, 1 to the left, and he's got Singletary in the backfield with him. They again motion Nabers from the slot out wide. They seem to do this a lot. Singletary also moves over to the right side as Wilson adjusts the protection. He throws deep to the right toward Nabers, but it's intercepted by Jalen Watson, and the Giants come out of that drive with no points. So again, what are the Chiefs doing to try to take away Malik Nabers? The Giants really seem to, they line him up in the slot a lot and then motion him to the outside, which really ends up putting him against the Chiefs' better corners. In this case, with him in the slot, who knows whether he would have been McDuffie or Brian Cook's responsibility, both of whom are, well, McDuffie is a great corner. I think the Giants would have liked the matchup on Cook. But then now he's lined up against Jalen Watson, who's certainly a better cover corner than, or a cover defensive back than Brian Cook would be one-on-one. Well, what the Chiefs end up doing is they end up blitzing Bolton and Tranquil again. So they're sending 6. But the Giants hold Singletary and their tight end back in pass protection. So it evens out the numbers here. So even though it seems like the Chiefs are sending extra, since the Giants are keeping in 6 to protect, it essentially creates the same numbers as normal cover one man, which is what the Chiefs are running. So you've got man-to-man, 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 and then you've got over the top here, you've got the deep safety, and then Noel Williams over here, who was man-to-man on the tight end. Since the tight end stays in the block, he kind of drops out and becomes your robber. So you really just have 3 guys you're worried about in the pass pattern. Since 2 are staying in the block, they're manned up. Then you have 1 guy to be your deep safety and 1 guy to be your underneath guy. Everybody else is rushing. You'll notice Leo Chanel's on the field here. So this is actually a 3-3-5 nickel. The Chiefs only have 3 defensive linemen. Then they have 3 linebackers and 5 defensive backs. But so what the Giants are doing here is they're running Wan'Dale Robinson on a deep over. They've got a curl here, and then they're just sending Nabers on a go. And again, the Chiefs are not doing anything special in coverage against Nabers. He's just one-on-one here. And Chris Collinsworth said on the broadcast, I can't really fault Russell Wilson for this. You got Malik Nabers one-on-one, you got to throw it to him. Well, you certainly can fault Russell Wilson for this, and what you can fault him for is this throw is way too late for this route. What it looks like is that Wilson is looking for his deep over to Wan'Dale Robinson. That's the route that he wants. And it would have been a good option. It's a good route to run against a blitz, as you're against man coverage and you don't have a lot of people in the middle of the field. The problem is that Noel Williams was supposed to be guarding the tight end. And he does an incredible job here of when he notices the tight end is not going in, he drops and ends up dropping underneath this deep over, making it way too dangerous of a throw to make. If Wilson had just gone and made that throw, this would have been picked off. In fact, I believe we saw that similar thing happen to Kyler Murray in the preseason, where Murray was looking for a deep over, and I think it was Jaden Hicks that dropped underneath it in a similar situation here. So Noel Williams is trying to drop underneath this, and that takes away the over. But then when you're Wilson and you come back to this, now throwing to the corner of the end zone, it's too late. What you want to do when you're throwing this go route to the end zone is give Nabers a chance to outrun the defender to the ball. The problem is that they've already gotten so close to the end zone that by the time you put this up, this just essentially is a jump ball in the end zone. And Nabers' speed advantage and ball tracking advantage completely goes. I mean, you're just giving the corner, especially when you get it a little short, when they have time, the corner is going to be in better position, right? Because the receiver is trying to beat the corner down the field. So once they both make it there, then the corner is in better position trying to box the receiver out, which is exactly what happened. You can't make this throw. I mean, Wilson doesn't release the ball until they're crossing the 10-yard line. I mean, that ball has to be thrown way earlier. If you haven't gotten over to that route and they're throwing it and it's at this point, don't. I mean, this is a terrible decision at this moment. What's also interesting is that the Giants did a great job of kind of walling off this side. And since this is man-to-man covered, I know you got Noel Williams who's dropping here, but Wilson does actually have a route to scramble here. That honestly might have been the best option. I know you're kind of thinking, you're not thinking scramble when you got 56 seconds to go in the half, but I mean, he can probably make this out of bounds. I don't know. It's certainly throwing this one is a mistake. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you really put it up like by the pylon and you're just like go up and get it, but you're asking a lot of a receiver who's trying to beat a defender down the field and then essentially has to come back to the ball. Certainly think Nabers could have given a better effort than this, but he was put in a really tough spot here. Wilson should not have made this throw that late. But again, we just got man-to-man coverage with no safety help here. The safety in the middle of the field ended up going over and checking the over route. But nothing special on Nabers. In this situation, you do wonder if he had been the first read on his go, if they had thrown it a little earlier and made Watson work for this a little bit. I mean, Watson often does well in these situations, but maybe Nabers would have had a chance. But in this situation, really tough spot when the ball's thrown that late. The Chiefs managed to keep shutting Nabers down, even though they haven't really done anything that crazy to try to account for him. We jump ahead to 14:08 to go in the game. The Chiefs are up 16-6, and the Giants have a 3rd and 6 at about the Chiefs' 45-yard line. Russell Wilson lines up in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, 1 to his left, and the running back is with him in the backfield to the left. He drops back to throws deep over the middle of the field, and it is almost intercepted by Brian Cook. He ends up knocking it down before he gets injured. He and Nabers were down on this play, and by the end of the game, both of them were reported to be okay. So let's take a look again. We're looking to see what the Chiefs are doing to guard Malik Nabers. Again, we see this pattern. Nabers starting in the slot and then motioning out to the outside. And the Chiefs here in coverage are running a pretty standard. Really, it looks like it may end up being a Tampa 2. It's definitely a cover 2. We got 2 deep safeties. You've got our 4 underneath, and it looks like Shamari Connor might be the runner. If you all remember, the difference between like a standard cover 2 and a Tampa 2 is that the Tampa 2 has a middle defender. It used to be a linebacker. Now it can be a safety or a nickel corner too, in the middle of the field, who essentially is responsible for running anything up the middle because that's such a vulnerable part of the cover 2 defense. So it looks like Connor might be doing that, and then when Robinson's route up the middle comes shorter, he just stays at home. But you really just have the 2 deep safeties, and Nabers runs a route to get him isolated on a safety deep. But again, we've yet to, on passes that were thrown to Nabers, on key downs, on passes that were not thrown to Nabers, I'm yet to see anything that makes me feel like the Chiefs were devoting any kind of extra attention to him. This is, a deep route. He just gets passed off to the safety, one-on-one with the safety. Honestly, I just feel like Brian Cook tracked the ball better than him. I mean, you would think, the way they're running it, Cook manages to maintain inside position on this throw that's like more of a post to the middle of the field. Nabers doesn't really, he's running to track it, but he doesn't seem to be trying to get leverage on Cook at all. Just allowing Cook to stay underneath him, and Cook ends up going up and knocking the pass down, almost intercepting it. Nabers, because of the way he ran to the ball, ended up kind of having to play defense. He actually hit Cook on the head as he went down. I mean, some might argue for a penalty there. But in any case, again, nothing too special. As you see, Wilson, he gets the matchup he wants. He gets Nabers just isolated on a safety. Nothing too exotic. And yet again, I guess the only interesting wrinkle out of this is that the deep safety is Noel Williams, not the actual safety who you'd imagine Shamari Connor. He, like we said, he kind of plays the runner in the cover 2. So they do rotate this, interestingly. But that's more just a thing that could confuse Wilson. It's not, it didn't affect him on this play at all, but it's not anything special done to take Nabers out of the game. But another failed pass attempt to Nabers. All right, so now we get to 3:38 to go in the game. The Giants are still down 22-9. They have a 3rd and 5 around the Chiefs' 30-yard line. Russell Wilson is in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, 1 to his left. That one on his left is Malik Nabers isolated there. Drops back and throws deep to his left to Nabers. It's incomplete, bringing up a 4th down. And again, the Chiefs here now come out in dime. They've got the extra defensive back. Their only linebacker is Nick Bolton. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive backs. And again, coverage-wise, they just run a cover 2. They're having both of their corners run with the outside receivers, but they've got 3 underneath in zone, and then 2 deep safeties split coverage. They have Nabers bracketed here, but that's just because he is the isolated receiver on this side, so the corner and safety are paying attention to him as he runs his go. But again, this is just a pretty standard cover 2. Nothing exciting about the way that they're covering this. And whoever got ISO'd on this side is going to ultimately kind of be bracketed by the nature of the coverage being very simplistic here. So yeah, again, and Wilson tries to get that in there. He's not able to fit it between the corner and the safety in a way that Nabers is able to get it. And that is kind of the story of the game. So as much as, Chris Collinsworth was talking about the Chiefs taking away Nabers, it doesn't seem like they were doing anything exotic coverage-wise or anything special to take him out of the game. They were very clearly trying to eliminate the deep pass, and that seemed to mess with the Giants' offense's ability to function. But it would have been interesting to see, as we counted in this film review, there were 2 deep shots to Nabers against coverage that, maybe could have been exploited with a good throw. But it's difficult to say what would have happened because both times Wilson got hit while he threw and the pass wasn't even close to being accurate. So who knows? Maybe the narrative of Nabers' performance in this game was completely different if one of those were connected on. Then you had the one-on-one in the end zone that was thrown just way too late for Nabers to have any chance on it. So when there were opportunities down the field, they either weren't able to connect because of the rush or because of Wilson getting to Nabers late. But I don't really agree with the narrative that the Chiefs did anything special to specifically try to get Nabers out of this game. I don't see anything on the film that suggests that. But they did manage to shut him down, and it was a big reason why they held the Giants to 9 points.